A concert-like rehearsal. Taeyong shakes Tokyo Soundcheck D1, millions of fans go hysterical. Hello ARMY. Welcome back to BTS Fans Channel. This time, I want you to go further, deeper, to immerse yourself more than ever before. Not just to hear this story, but to truly live inside it. To feel every second, every vibration in the air, every emotion that filled Tokyo that day. A day when a simple rehearsal turned into an unforgettable moment. Tokyo, since the morning, already felt different. The air was the same. The sky was the same. But there was something impossible to explain. An anticipation. A quiet excitement. Slowly growing among thousands of ARMY gathered there. They arrived early. Some with hopeful eyes. Some with trembling hands. Unable to believe that they would see Taeyong that day. Even if it was just a sound check. But ARMY knew one thing. With Taeyong, nothing is ever just. And when the gates finally opened, when step by step they entered the stadium, the atmosphere began to form. The stage lights weren't fully on yet. The big screen still showed simple visuals. The sound system was still being tested. Everything looked ordinary. Until that moment came. A silhouette appeared in the distance. And in a split second, the stadium exploded. The screams were no longer just noise. They were an emotional eruption, held in for far too long. Taeyong. His name echoed over and over, louder, wilder, as if all of Tokyo was shaking because of that one name. And Taeyong stood there, with relaxed steps, with an effortless aura, with a charm that needed no exaggeration. He was simply himself. And that was exactly what made everything feel so powerful. He greeted with a small wave, a warm, familiar smile. And in an instant, the distance between stage and audience disappeared. The sound check began. The first note rang out. And instantly, everything changed. There was no longer a feeling of, this is just practice. Because the way Taeyong stood, the way he held the mic, the way he closed his eyes for a second before singing, it all felt real. Deeply real. His voice flowed out slowly, soft, yet full of emotion. And every word he sang felt like it carried a story. One that reached straight into the hearts of everyone listening. ARMY fell silent for a moment. Not because they didn't want to cheer, but because they were completely immersed. But it didn't last long. Because when Taeyong started to move, following the rhythm, blending voice and body into one seamless flow, everything erupted again. His movements weren't excessive, never forced. And that's exactly where the magic lived. Every step felt effortless, yet precise. Every expression natural, yet deeply expressive. He wasn't just dancing. He was telling a story. And ARMY responded with the same energy. Light sticks swayed in the air. Cheers filled the stadium. Some fans were seen crying, because they never expected that a rehearsal could feel this intense. In the middle of the song, Taeyong paused for a moment. He took a breath, looked at the crowd, and let out a small laugh. A light, genuine laugh, with no distance, as if he was saying, I feel this too. And that moment, no matter how small, changed everything. ARMY went even more hysterical. Because right there, they didn't just see a superstar. They saw a human being. Fully present. Truly enjoying every second with them. Time kept moving. But somehow, no one wanted it to. Every song felt too short. Every pause passed too quickly. And every time Taeyong moved across the stage, the fans' eyes followed him. Not wanting to miss a single second. He walked to one side. Waved. Gave a small bow. Then lightly ran to the other side. As if trying to greet everyone. Without exception. His energy never dropped. Even for something called a rehearsal. He gave everything. And that's when ARMY truly realized something. This wasn't about a grand stage. Not about visual effects. Not about the scale of a concert. This was about Taeyong. About how he could turn an empty space into something full of emotion. About how he could transform a simple rehearsal into something that felt like a dream. As the soundcheck slowly came to an end, the atmosphere began to shift. Not because the energy faded, but because there was a feeling that this moment was about to end. And no one was ready for that. Taeyong stood at the center of the stage. A thin layer of sweat visible on his face. His breath slightly uneven. But his smile, still there. He looked around. At the sea of ARMY. Still standing. Still cheering. Still wishing time would stop. Then, in a soft voice, he said thank you. Simple. But full of meaning. And once again, the stadium exploded. Not because of something grand. Not because of spectacle. But because of sincerity. Because of a connection that couldn't be manufactured. As the lights dimmed and the music truly faded, Taeyong slowly stepped back. But before he completely left, he turned one last time. One final glance, holding all the emotions of that day. And ARMY answered him with something just as powerful. Love. Cheers. Not just loud, but heartfelt. That day, Tokyo Soundcheck D1 was no longer just a small part of a concert. It was the beginning of something bigger. A reminder that even in the simplest moments, Taeyong can always create magic. And for millions of ARMY, whether they were there or only heard the story, that moment will always live on. Not just as a memory, but as a feeling that will never truly fade. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story, ARMY.